بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وبعد. From among the signs of the Day of Judgment, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he tells us that ظهرت المعازف والقيانات وشربت الخمر, that a person will live in a time in which music will become rampant, dancing will become commonplace, and the consumption of alcohol will be seen as something ordinary and normal. And subhanAllah, when we look at these three things, it's uncanny how closely that it resembles the hadith. When you think about ظهرت المعازف, the fact that music becomes common, there was music in the past as well. We shouldn't think that somehow music never existed in the time of Rasulullah ﷺ and it just became apparent. But the difference between how it was in the past and how it is today is it's nearly impossible to go by 24 hours except that you are exposed to music. Whether it's going through YouTube, whether it's listening to the news, whether it's watching or listening to a podcast, walking into a store, going to work. ظهرت المعازف doesn't only mean music exists, because music exists in the past. What makes the present day much worse is ظاهر. It's everywhere. You can't even avoid it. You're just scrolling down somebody's feed and it's just hitting you so strongly. Then it says والقيانات. قيانات literally refers to, back in the day, they used to have certain types of musicians and dancers. That becomes common today. Again, people used to do this type of stuff in the past, but today with the music industry, it has become commonplace, from ads to the whole Hollywood and Bollywood world. This is something that even little infants, little kids, everybody's exposed to. And it's something that, again, it's moving at such an alarming rate that we don't even realize. And the third is the consumption of wine. Khamar becomes normal. If you look at the recent debacle, the recent fiasco of why during the games they didn't allow the consumption of alcohol, and you see the Western world going into uproar, you can see how important alcohol, something which by all accounts, Muslim, non-Muslim, everybody agrees that alcohol is harmful, that being intoxicated is dangerous. Don't drive when you're intoxicated. Don't be near people when you're intoxicated. But just because some Muslims decided we're not going to have alcohol, all of a sudden the entire world is in an uproar. It's one of the signs of the Day of Judgment when Nabi ﷺ says that khamar is not only going to be considered halal, it's going to be considered like part and parcel of a person's life. We began speaking about the different signs of the Day of Judgment. The next part are these three things that I just mentioned right now. The commonplace of musical instruments. The second is dancing. And the third is when you talk about, khamar and alcohol. Now, when it comes down to music, listen, I understand what the conversations that are happening, but the one thing nobody can justify is the types of music that are prevalent today. There's no justification. There's like, oh, I heard this fatwa, I heard this opinion, I heard that. You can put that over there, but the types of music that is common today, the types of fahisha, the types of nudity, the types of illicit, immoral propaganda and messaging that's happening, and subhanAllah, we don't even realize, oftentimes when we talk about children and the influence that somebody can have on a child, if I'm walking down the corner and if I see a stranger speaking to my child's 4 or 5 years old, 6, 7 years old, 10, 11 years old, when a person is speaking to my child, I'll get concerned. But we don't realize, when we think about the harms of music, the problem with music isn't only the messaging, it's also that instruments play psychologically on the body. So If a person comes to me and tells me do something wrong, for the most part, my mind is stable. I won't just listen to him. I'm going to filter his information. But when you have musical lyrics that is surrounded by instruments, a person psychologically lets down their guard. Perfect example, walk into Walmart and you want to buy something, there's music playing in the background. You don't even realize how that's influencing your decision. One moment you didn't want to buy something, you're listening to the music in the back, it's just playing, you don't want to. Now psychologically you're like, okay, I need to buy this, Many stores have decided what type of music they play in the background because it alters our ability to think straight. So now imagine some child, an infant, a teenager is listening to music. The messaging is very corrupt. It's all about nudity. It's all about illicit behavior. It's all about, the dunya, money, cars, corruption, depending on what you're listening to. Imagine that message just came normally. Everybody's going to say, you know what, I don't want to listen to this. But now when you garb it, you disguise it in musical lyrics, and you put instruments, it makes a person psychologically let their guard down and open up their heart to take the message. So there's a lot that can be said about this, but when you think about the signs of the Day of Judgment, a lot of these signs existed in the past. There was music in the past, there was instruments in the past, there was khamar in the past. But the wording that Nabi ﷺ uses is ظَهَرَتِ الْمَعَازِفِ. Zahir, zuhur means it's manifest. It's everywhere. In the past, you could go to the marketplace, it's not like music is playing over there. Today you can't even walk inside of your car and listen to the news, except that in between there's going to be music. You can't even look at an ad except it's something to do with some celebrity, some famous musician, some artist, some dancing, like how zahir has become. Again, we're going through the list of the signs of the Day of Judgment. The purpose over here isn't to just sit down and complain about the situation. It's more for our awareness and what can we do to preserve ourselves and our family and our societies from the encroaching effects of these fahsha and fawahish, these very negative elements of our society. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our youth and our adults and our seniors and all of us, because it's a very, very difficult time. And may He protect our iman as well during these final times. Ameen ya Rabbil Alameen. Jazakumullahu khairan wa salam.